Conflict resolution isn't about resolving the actual problem. It's about recalibrating someone's emotional instability. Welcome back to Along This Spiritual Journey. So the thing that I've learned especially when I worked in a lot of the customer service industries back in the day, I would recognize everyone was afraid of the service recovery department. This means when someone has an issue with an item or a product, or this is guest service, this is all these things, this is doing returns and stuff like that, and someone's coming back not happy. And even though neither one of these people created this product, even though neither one of these people produced this thing that they're having an issue with, these people have to resolve this issue emotionally, right? One has to be secure and understand that this person is not upset about the product. They're upset that they had hopes for something and it was not fulfilled. And now they feel bad and now they feel let down. And because this entity provided this product, they should make it feel better, right? And so as long as the person who's in the role of being the secure person says, got it, you just need me to fix this moment of you feeling disappointed. And you give them something to make them not feel disappointed. This, in a perfect world, is conflict resolution. But for some reason, when an issue arises or what a blockage is to me is when people see a wall, they don't know that they can just walk around the wall, but they choose to keep trying to fight the wall. And then both sides start recognizing, like, well, this is our wall, and now they're fighting over this weird energy of who needs to win and be in control in this moment of conflict. Because for me, everything is dualistic, and if there's going to be two words in a phrase, then that means it has a double quadruple meaning, right? Because all single words have a duality. It can be negative, it can be bad. There can be good resolution, there can be negative resolution. Good resolution is walking away and saying, listen, I don't have time for this. Negative resolution is you got to put hands on somebody and now y'all both locked up. So it really is about understanding that that is the part of conflict that exists. The resolution that exists is, how do I get back to a space where I'm back to my normal state of, this doesn't bother me, or if it did bother me, it shouldn't bother me, or whatever the case may be. How do I get back to a point where this wasn't a concern of mine and is messing with my energetic emotions and calibrations? This is why I tell people it's important to understand that emotional intelligence and logical intelligence work hand in hand, but they're not the same thing. Logical intelligence wants to follow the rules and it wants you to follow the rules. So people will get into fights and wars and all these things over someone else not following rules that were created by somebody else and then implemented by groups and energies of other people who just agree to it, right? Because that's all culture is. We're agreeing to something and then we replicate it. There's no real law that exists besides the universal law of nature, right? How things naturally happen, ebb and flow, how things die and come back to life and region. That's natural law. Human law is saying, well, if they don't do this thing this way, then I'm gonna act like this and do this because they're not following the rules. But these rules are imaginary. If this entity that created these rules didn't exist, would you follow the same rules? That's how I look at conflict resolution. And then I take it back to a point of understanding to say to people, listen, you have the right to feel how you feel, but say what you feel. Don't use logic and intelligence to defend how you're feeling, because then it's going to sound like you're biased. It's going to sound like you're two-faced. It's going to sound like you're condescending. Say how you feel. You'll be surprised how many people can receive that and it resolves a conflict much quicker than you trying to fight the stance and prove a point that they need to fight the rules against you. And now you both are trying to fight over this point that neither one of you ever wanted to make. So for me, I always say this: if I don't initiate it, it's not important to me. It's not. If someone has an issue and they bring it to me, okay, I'm just gonna listen. I'm gonna take it in as best as possible. I'm gonna let that person say whatever they need to say. I'm gonna work with them and try to work through that problem as best as I can so that they don't feel the way they feel about something that I may have done or something that they have conceived that I've done, right? Or perceived. They're all in the spectrum of feelings because that's what feelings are. How I think you perceive me, how I think you conceive something, how I think you're trying to do something. There's nothing wrong with that. because again, thinking is attached to the feelings. That's why we go after certain things that we believe in, because we feel motivated to do so. And so if I know this is how I'm thinking, how I feel is like, I don't want to let myself down and I don't want to let you down. But people don't know how to say that. So they go, I didn't do anything wrong. That's not my fault. Why didn't you do this way? And it becomes this, well, I know not to do that, and we've talked about it. How don't you know to do that? Why aren't you doing that, right? This is where I find grace, depending on the topic it is. If someone's trying to attack me in a conflict, I'm not going to work with them. I am going to put up defenses. I'm going to walk away, or I'm going to say my little smart comment, because I'm still not saying that you can't talk back. I'm going to definitely do that. But that's only when people start attacking me. If it's a premise or a thought or an idea of a rule that we're supposed to follow, let's talk about the system. Let's talk about the function that this thing works for, why we're doing it, so that we understand it's implemented for a reason to help a bigger network of people and not just individuals. I can talk about that all day. But if you're going to take a thing like politics, perfect, and then you start attacking me because I don't believe in what you believe in, that's an ideology. Me as the soul, the person, has nothing to do with that. So sometimes that's when people have to remember to have grace and say, they're not as passionate about this as I am. And if they don't get it, they don't get it. And I have to be okay with that, because I'm still going to do what I want to do. I'm still going to vote the way I want to vote. I'm still going to think the way I want to think. That's how people are, right? So to engage in a conflict and then perpetuate it further shows me your emotional stability. So if you are in a conflict with someone, again, it's not about trying to resolve the actual thing they're complaining about. It's about getting them back to emotional space where they feel safe and they don't feel like they have to go out of their way to now put up these defensive modes to be like, you can't come this way, you can't come near me because now I don't trust you. That's what you're trying to fix. It's not your job to fix this for anyone. It's not your responsibility to take on this energy of anyone. But as humans, we are a giving and receiving species. That's how we survive. We work by community. There is no house or building that we live in that wasn't built by community. And if it was a singular person, that is beautiful, because other people are still utilizing it generations after that, and it's still community. So whatever we do, it's about giving back in a way that we realize we don't realize we give back to each other, but that's all we do. Through culture, through speech, through TikTok, through anything. That's what humans are for, because if this wasn't true, then we'd all have these solo, singular lives where we never really need to interact with each other, right? We never really need to speak to each other. If that's who we were, we're not. We're not that type of species. So it's understandable. So that yes, we love kumbaya and fun and having everything go our way. But when conflict arises, we have to ask ourselves, is it really important to us to have this thing work the way it needs to work? Or is it more important for us to feel that we are safe in how we feel when this thing doesn't go the way we want it to go, right? Because if, again, it is taking ownership of your own emotions. If something falls apart, whatever it might be, apply it how you must. It is our job as the humans to have the emotional calibration to say, this sucks, but I can get a new one. This sucks, I can try again. This sucks, today's not my day. This sucks, but that's okay. I'll be fine the next day. Just acknowledge it and accept it, and then you move on. That's conflict. Again, there's going to be situations where it escalates into physical and other things, but that means somebody emotionally opened the floodgates and let it, right? You have to allow that type of level of anger to blow up to the point now that it's fisticuffs. That's why it's important to remind yourself of recognizing little patterns of conflict. When people are not owning their own emotions and shutting down, that's the moment to either resolve it on your end and say, okay, I'm not going to get any closure here. Let's just leave it where it is and go away nicely. Or you simply have to just let them know what it is, walk away and cut it off. Because that's all you can do. Sometimes you can resolve the moment and say, listen, I see you. Can we move on and start a new topic? And if you can, beautiful. And if you can't, that's it. Love you.